Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me. I'm Fiona Williams, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing Cindy Renard, who, as many of you know, is a teacher of A Course in Miracles who travels with her wonderful husband, Gary Renard. And she is also the author of A Course in Health and Well-Being, which is a beautiful book which really gently outlines the principles of A Course in Miracles if you're struggling at all with how to achieve health and what true health is and understand what that is. I highly recommend you read Cindy's book because it really clarifies how to achieve that using your mind. And today we are going to be focusing on the mind because this is a topic which I feel is being dumbed down in our world, are making an enemy of the mind, which I can understand not wanting to be friends with the ego mind, but there is a gentler part of our mind, the right mind. Through our continued use of it will lead to our experience of the one mind. So this is what I wanted to talk to Cindy about today. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Fiona. Thanks for having me on.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me.
Of course.
So you are a life coach and you have a master's degree in spiritual psychology. And of course, you're a teacher of A Course in Miracles. So can you, with all of your experience, how would you describe the mind?
Good question.
Start out hard.
Actually, it depends on what level of mind we're talking about, because there's absolute reality, and that would fall under the category of the mind of God, or the mind of God would be absolute truth, absolute oneness with your creator, the mind of God, right? So another way to say that would be the mind of oneness, right? And that's the reality that we come from. Mm-hmm. But now we appear to be here in a world, right, a physical world of time and space, mm-hmm. and in this world where we believe we are, the mind is split. Yeah. We're no longer oneness now, mm-hmm. And there's something to be conscious of. So A Course in Miracles explains it as there's the wrong part of the mind and the right part of the mind. Mm-hmm. And the wrong part of the mind would be what we call the ego mind. And then the right part of the mind, what would be called the Holy Spirit part of the mind, where the Holy Spirit resides, which is your memory of God. Yes. And our choice becomes now to use this mind to choose between the two. And so at this level, you could say the mind is three parts. It's the left, the wrong mind, the right mind, and then the decision maker that chooses between the two. And whichever one you choose is what you are identifying with in that particular moment. So it's really important to look at where we're coming from when we're thinking and when we're interacting with people and when we're looking at the world. Where's our starting point? Are we in our right minds or the wrong mind? And that's going to make the experience we have, the kind of experience that we have.
Beautiful. And I love that you shared that, we'll use that word identifying. It's that strong that whichever mind we choose, ego or right mind, that will be our identity, that starting point for the next wave of thinking that's coming about.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so why do you feel the mind is so important?
The mind is important because mind is cause. It's the cause of everything. So the world has it the opposite, where the world and the body is the cause instead of the effect. So it's important because we can remember we have a mind that where we can choose how we're experiencing something. It makes all the difference in the world. You get your power back. So this way you're not giving your power away to something that seems to be outside of you. Right. And there's really nothing outside. It's all a projection. Mm-hmm. If anyone's new to A Course in Miracles, this world, it's describing the world as a dream. Yeah. And it's a projection coming from the mind. So the world's an effect, not cause. Yeah. So that's why the mind is so important, because you don't have to suffer. Right. It's a choice. And we can use our minds now for a different purpose. Yeah. And so it can, again, one of the key questions A Course in Miracles asks us is, how important is having a peaceful mind to you? Right. you know, and a tranquil mind is not a little gift.
No.
And I have found that, that it's definitely not a little gift, you know, when you have a peaceful mind. And I think that's what all of us really want. If we're really being honest and looking, what do we really want to come of anything? Well, God, we just want to feel good. We want to feel peaceful. We want to be happy, you know, and we might think that we want things in the world. I want a better job. I want a better relationship. I want better health. Those are effects still, though. You know, what we want to do is, you know, we can be peaceful regardless of our circumstances, and that's real power.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. I love that you said that. It's our real power that no matter what's coming at me, I am the decision maker and I can choose how to react. And isn't that a true power position?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That way we're not, you know, victims of the world.
Yeah.
You know, victims of our own circumstances. You're at cause of it.
Yeah.
Meaning you can choose how you think about this, how you interpret it, and then there's your power. You know, so yeah, I found that's worked really well in my life. The more I've practiced this, it really works. When it's practiced, you know? So yeah.
It really does work. You know, I, as an ACIM student and teacher of it, it's just incredible how much stronger you get. But it's not your strength, it's the strength of God within you, and you're simply allowing it to move through you. And so I sometimes joke that, you know, just those challenges that come around that would maybe about 10 years ago seem super challenging, you can quite literally laugh at and be like, oh, what a cakewalk.
Yeah. And laughter is great that you brought that up, because it's so important to remember to laugh, and you know, we can all lighten up just a little bit, you know, even in extreme circumstances, if we just remember, you know, oh my gosh, I'm making this so serious or so real. We're trained to do that in the world. Everything is very serious here, you know, until we kind of, you know, remember. And that's what the miracle is in the Course. The Course in Miracles is that shift, a shift in perception.
Yes.
You know, where we can, and part of that is having an attitude of lightness.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It's I want to release myself from the pain and what I previously thought about this situation and the judgments that I'm holding. Like, and of course you would feel lighter if you just start to let go of that. Yeah, absolutely. And what I love to share with others is that, well, you're experiencing the challenge anyway. Like, your trials are going to pop up. So you're going through it anyway. So who are you going to do it with? Because it's going to be much more challenging if you do it with the ego, and it's going to present itself again and again and again. So if you're going through it anyway, why not just give it a shot? And choose.
That's right. As long as we're all gonna always have our lessons, you know, that we're learning anyway.
Yeah.
So that's a very good point, is as long as we're gonna have them, we do have a choice as to how we experience it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's who we're looking at it with. And again, A Course in Miracles uses the term Holy Spirit to describe that right part of the mind, where you're in touch, you know, with the Holy Spirit, you know, and where it sees everything as, you know, everything is whole. You are whole in reality. You're complete. You know, you're innocent. You're love. You know, and we want to see that in ourselves and others.
Yeah.
You know, and that we are just dreaming a dream. That's why we don't have to make it so real, because it is a dream.
It is.
And it doesn't mean we don't take care of ourselves, right? Be normal and you do what you have to do, but now you can do it with a different teacher.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So you can use the experience to help you remember who you really are, you know, and it can facilitate peace instead of using the situation as an obstacle to peace. You can really make that shift. And that just comes with practice. I mean, it's not always easy to do.
No.
Definitely not always easy. But I think most of us would agree with that. It's not easy. But it can be done with continuous, you know, vigilance and practice. And, you know, if you really want it, right? You really want the peace. And of course, we say, do you want the peace of God above all else? You know, so that's a decision we make.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And it's that mind of God that is always with us, that is our true reality. And I know for many people who approach the course, and in the first teachings, it's you're just undoing the blocks to love's awareness, and that you may not really realize what that means, but as you implement true forgiveness, which is very much elaborated on in your and Gary's work, which is incredible, it's just you start to get the evidence, but that evidence presents itself through a mental experience, through your mind, in that you are less reactive, or you just see it differently. And so it's always of the mind that you will begin to experience the idea that spirit is actually with you, that healing is possible, and that, the world is an effect of that, and things may change to go into accordance with that healing of the mind.
Yes, they might. And things certainly shift here.
Yeah.
And what I love is that with true forgiveness, when you're really forgiving something, a part of that means you wouldn't even be invested in any particular outcome either.
Yeah.
You're just so free, because it frees you that you're not expecting even something specific to happen.
Yeah.
That way that's what freedom is that you're just, your forgiveness is for you, it's benefiting your own mind, and then you don't have to worry about the effect. It'll take care of itself. Oftentimes we want the outside picture to change. We want it to look a specific way. And that's also an ego setup, though. It wants us to, it keeps us here in the world of time and space, feeling like we're victims of the world when we expect people to react a certain way, or even respond to our forgiveness. And sometimes that just doesn't happen that way. And so real forgiveness is even letting go of all that. And remembering, it's really about remembering there's nothing outside of you that can cause you to feel upset. Or in any way, no matter what it is, really. And so when you can really take yourself all the way there, you start to experience this kind of peace. The Course is talking about, you do feel freer, and you feel like more and more like the world is a dream. The dream-like nature of the world becomes more apparent too. More that we're undoing this unconscious guilt in the mind, which really is the true cause of all our upset, is this guilt that we don't see it. But it does get projected out. And the guilt again comes from this belief that we've really separated from love, from God. And that's just not true. That's an illusion. That's the ultimate illusion. Separate from each other and from God. And God is just perfect love. That's all God is. It doesn't have to be a religious thing. It's just perfect love. And so, and A Course in Miracles is not religious, in case some are like, well, it uses all this Christian language. It does that for a reason, but it's not a religion. It's just a self-study program, thought system that helps us undo the ego.
Absolutely.
Just in case there's some newer people something to the Course, and they're wondering why it's all about, we're talking about God or the Holy Spirit, or these are the terms, the Course uses to it's really for a Western audience that's really Christian based. Although the principles in it are universal, but we can't always agree, and not every culture or group of people are going to agree on this particular curriculum.
For sure.
That's not necessary. What's necessary is that eventually all of us are just going to come to this place of understanding, regardless of what you study or what you practice. The Course is just one way to get there.
Beautiful. And it's true, like a common question I get in my introduction to A Course in Miracles classes is like, well, it looks so biblical, the terminology is so biblical, and it's just another ego block. So an open mind, right? Like one of the qualities of a teacher of God is having an open mind. And why not give it a whirl, right? As Jesus is consistently asking us, what do you got to lose? Why not? Give it a try.
That's also why it has, because Jesus is the voice of A Course in Miracles, the channel work. So he's speaking in a way in first person sometimes, like when I said this, I meant this, and it's clear speaking, of course. So this is why he's sort of making corrections of, you know, on Christianity, things that were misunderstood.
Right.
So that's all. He's just correcting and saying, this is what I meant.
Yeah.
Really meant what I was teaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's very grateful for the opportunity to
Yes.
clear something up.
Laugh at that. Yeah. Another, again, yeah. The opportunity. Whoever will listen. Here, I'm just putting that. Whoever has ears to hear, right?
So just gonna throw that out there.
Let's just throw that out. Let's just put it out there. And if you want to, those that have ears to hear, great. No judgment, no judgment, but just here it is.
What do you think? That's all. I've heard you and Gary speak several times, and you know, I love your work. And one of the things that I was personally relieved to learn is that you know, doing things in the world, you're allowed to do things. So whether it's you need to take a medication or whatever it might be. And what I really appreciate about your and Gary's teaching is that you can do that without guilt. You can still do things in the world, but do them with the Holy Spirit. So I've personally found that to relieve a lot of pressure that, you know, I'm still experiencing this world. And from a mental level, like where it comes from to me, like this is just where I'm at right now. This is what my mind believes. This is what my focus is right now, and I need a little help. So, you know, if I do something, that's okay, but I have a choice now to do it with the Holy Spirit, and maybe I might feel a little more relaxed, and I'll definitely feel less guilty about doing the things that I have to do in the world. And I think that's super helpful for spiritual students, where, you know, you learn to relinquish the world, but you still have to honor that you're having this mental experience of being in the world, and you have to respect where your mind is at that time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. It's very important to not deny our experience.
Yeah.
This is where we believe we are for the moment.
Yeah.
And, so we need to be gentle with ourselves, patient and with ourselves, and allow ourselves to use what the Course calls magic sometimes, if it's necessary. Magic are those anything external or outside agents we use to attempt to heal ourselves.
Yes.
And sometimes that requires medication. Sometimes it's a combination approach where you can still do the mind work, practice forgiveness, you know, do the mental work. At the same time, it can be very loving to, you know, give ourselves a little break if we feel it's really necessary. And we can do that without guilt. That's very important.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
You know, I use magic, you know, we call it magic sometimes. You know, if I have a headache, I'll take a Tylenol, or that's magic. I'll do it, you know, because, and I can do it without guilt, you know, because it helps facilitate me feeling better sometimes, or whatever. Even if you're taking vitamins, that's magic, you know. It doesn't, you know, so anything you believe is going to be helpful to you. You know, you know, I think it's okay to do that, of course. You know, and the Course in Miracles is certainly not telling us not to do those things. You know, it just wants us to know that the real cause is always at the mind level. That's all.
For sure.
We can always work at that level to change our minds about it. And, you know, so it's but it's okay to do that. And in fact, the Course says that would be an unworthy form of denial, to deny, right? These things that if we feel we have to push against that and deny that we're here, that's making the world real too. It's making it very real for ourselves, and it makes it harder. You know? So it's so important to allow ourselves whatever process we need to go through. And do it without judging ourselves, and do it without the guilt.
And it, you know, it's sometimes helpful to, you know, you kind of have to relax yourself. You do sometimes have to feel relaxed and happy in order to forgive. You know, I've heard you say that before, you know, try forgiveness when you're happy, you know, and sometimes you need, like, you know, if you're having a panic attack or whatever it might be, you need to chill out. And if you do need help with that, not to feel guilty about it. But when you've done it, and you feel more relaxed, then to be sure to take care of the mind and to implement true forgiveness, because you can't just treat, you know, the bodily symptoms. You really have to get to the cause, and that's okay. Like, do both if you need to. And not feel weird about that.
Sometimes it helps even people man just be able to function
Yeah.
in their everyday lives. Or everybody's situation is different, in the sense that it's a personal choice.
Yeah.
And so if it's something that helps you really function better, and while you appear to be here in the world, it can be a loving thing. And it could be actually cruel to deny that, just pretend everything's okay when you don't feel it really is,
Right.
But yes, the mind level is where we always eventually want to come back to, and just remember, that we can still look at it differently, which means we can go through whatever experience we're going through without attacking ourselves, judging, blaming, condemning, feeling guilty. We can forgive it at the same time. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know I shared with you, and just for some who may or may not know, I'm just recovered from caregivers PTSD, which I got from taking care of my dog before he passed away for 6 weeks. I was consistently stimulated throughout the evening, in the middle of the night, actually. So I was stirred awake. So my nervous system got overstimulated. So I didn't even, and it was just something that just happened, and that's okay. And I did see it as, all right, this is something that's going to make me stronger. And, I'm a pretty holistic person. That's just something I enjoy, and that's fine for me. So meds haven't always been a big part of my life, although I do think they serve their purpose at times. And, in not this December, the December before, I found myself in the middle of such a panic attack that I didn't even recognize it as fear. I actually thought I was quite sick with something, had a flu or something, and I couldn't move. But I asked my husband to grab an Ativan from my parents. And when he came home, I was still hesitant to take it, because I just had this idea in my mind, is this something I want to do? And I asked Holy Spirit HS for help. And I went into the bathroom, and I remember looking in the mirror, and I didn't even recognize myself. I was very, very pale. I did not look like the happy Fiona that I usually am. And I swear I grabbed that Ativan, and it just didn't even seem like my hand. And I put it in my mouth. And in 10 minutes, I was relaxed. I was talking to my mom, and we had a good chat. And then it was a tool that I was able to use. And you know what, I was actually very grateful. It was something that I chose not to feel guilty about, because I was able to relax. And then I chose the Holy Spirit again, and I was like, okay, I'm going through something here. And then I proceeded with the diagnosis, and then the whatever I needed to do to get better. So it was definitely just sharing with others that it's okay sometimes to do that stuff, but to do it with the Holy Spirit, I definitely felt a lot more comfortable with it, because it was outside my comfort zone. But I did my nervous system needed to chill out.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful example of lovingly doing what is necessary to take care of yourself.
Right.
To me, that's a beautiful example of that, of yes, you can take something but you can do it with love, do it with the Holy Spirit, as you said, which is such a different place to be coming from.
Yeah.
It really does produce a different experience.
Yeah.
And then we can just live our lives. If you live your lives in that way, every experience, can be used just for that purpose. If we're using it for the Holy Spirit's purpose, what else is there to do, really? That's our only function here, is to use now our lives in the world we see, to extend love. Yeah. We don't have to be in charge of what form the love will take. Yeah. We're just choosing love in our minds, and then the form will show up that can support it. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Sometimes it could be, going out for a walk in nature, but it could be taking a pill, a medication, right? It could be anything. Yeah. That is supporting your decision to be loving to yourself and well. Absolutely. Yeah. And that can mean something different for different people. So absolutely. Yeah. And so it's a good example, though, of that. It is. And because I've relied on it in my life, and a lot of my subscribers know this, is Gary's healing meditation that he shares in Love Has Forgotten No One. I healed from Meniere's disease with it, and I also healed from the panic disorder that went along with the PTSD with it. So what I found was, I was able to calm down enough that before I went to bed at night, I would use the healing meditation. And personally, what I found is that I didn't need the medication as long as I normally would have without
if I had chosen not to connect with the Holy Spirit, who knows how long I would have needed that form, of help. So just ensuring that I was taking care of the mind, that was very, very important to me. I knew that something just had to be healed. And because of course, my experience with the men years, I was like, I know I can do it this time too. So it really allowed that space for me to feel safe in the Holy Spirit and to let the Holy Spirit do the work and use that healing meditation. And 3 nights I used it, and the panic was gone. And bye-bye Ativan. Yeah. So, it just remembering that when we do take care of the mind, you never know that those things that you presently rely on, how they might fall away. They've served their purpose, and you can now proceed in a different fashion because your mind, a part of your mind is healed. And so now you're at a different, level, or it's more open.
Yes, that's right. And I have an example too that's similar to yours about, I remember, because I write in my book that I always used to get panic attacks. I mean, I got them all the time. In the 90s, I would get them quite a bit. And then, but then it went away for a while, and then it came back a little bit later. And then, but I've had quite a bit of experience with that too. So I know how terrifying that can feel.
Yeah.
It can feel really like you're losing control, and so it's not a good feeling. And so I remember I was driving in the car in traffic, and I was like stuck in traffic, and I started to get that feeling. I started to get this panic feeling that I'm stuck, know. And, but since I've been practicing the course so much, even though I was getting that feeling, I just want to share what my process was.
Please do. Yeah, because I was going to ask you to elaborate on your experience with anxiety. Yes.
Yeah. So I no longer was trying to, before I was practicing forgiveness, I would just feel bad about it. Like I shouldn't be having this, or I started to feel guilty about it.
Yeah.
But because I had been practicing the course so much, I started to just realize, oh my gosh, it's the judgment of it that not only makes it worse, but it makes it real. And so I just completely allowed myself to feel it. But at the same time, in my mind, I wasn't making a big deal out of it at the mind level. Even if my physical body was feeling this, my heart was racing. I was, telling myself that, you know what, I'm still innocent. I'm still whole in God. Just because I'm having this experience doesn't change my reality. And so I'm not gonna, it doesn't have to affect my peace the rest of my day, just because I have this 2 minutes or whatever of panic feeling. So let me just have it and move through it. So what? So what? It doesn't change my reality at all. So so I did my process, and I did forgiveness though. Just to remind myself of, that I'm not guilty and that I'm still at home in God. And so when it went away, I didn't dwell on it. I didn't keep thinking about it or feeling guilty about it, because that was just another experience like anything else. Everything in here, life is just a series of experiences, and that was a moment in time. So, but I'm not going to make it bigger than something else.
Right.
Like that's what makes it more real in our minds, and why we feel guilty, because we're separating it out. Saying, this is horrible and this thing is less horrible, but it's still horrible. But it's still horrible. This thing, I mean, it's all the mind. Just the ego loves to do that. Is to keep, and that's how it keeps making it harder for ourselves. So I just looked at it the same as anything else. How can I bring love to this? How can I bring this to love? That's it, And so so now if I ever get a panic attack, that's my process. I don't deny it. I just see it as anything else, and I just do my forgiveness work. Just like if I stubbed my toe, I would do the same process. I don't make it different.
Isn't that nice?
And it really helps you can still live your life and not be a victim of whatever it is. You just, how you're looking at it. How you're looking at it. So if I don't make it a big deal, yet to take care of myself too, and do whatever I need to do in the moment, which I do. Okay, so what? I could have panic attacks the rest of my life, and it'd be okay. Why? Because I just see it as all equally untrue, regardless of how real it even seems in the moment. It's still part of the dream. It's not my reality. So that's freeing. That's freeing. Then trying to consistently try to get rid of it. Try to, forgiveness will do that in time anyway. Forgiveness will heal our minds in ways we can't see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it means symptoms don't go away. Sometimes it means they do go away.
Yeah.
But either way, you're still okay. You can keep peace. So that's the point.
Yeah, and it's exciting. It's
Yeah.
exciting to, when you apply true forgiveness, even on the little things, and you start to get the evidence, you're like, oh my goodness, and look, I could apply it to this bigger thing that's always been part of my life, or that they perceive as bigger, and so yeah, it kind of gets exciting. You're like, oh, it's actually true forgiveness.
Like a game, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you can use it, really use it. It almost makes it more like, well, then if you're really using it for that purpose, you are healing yourself when you're doing that.
Yeah.
And don't just look to the body as proof that you've healed yourself.
Yes.
Because there are enlightened beings that are like have cancer, yet they're enlightened. See, that tells you that you can have symptoms, yet if your mind is at peace and your perception is correct, how you're looking at things, there is no sickness.
Yeah. Isn't it beautiful? And that, you're right, that is freeing, because it's the psychological attachment.
Yes.
It's the ego mind attaching to it and writing a story about it that you're paying attention to. That is the issue. It's the guilt in the mind that's the issue, and it's the fear that, that guilt, is part and parcel of. And, even when I was working on healing from Meniere's disease, which is a severe vertigo disease, I remember saying to myself, I don't care if I keep having vertigo. I just don't want to be afraid anymore. It's the fear that's the problem.
Yeah.
And I said that to myself many times and reminded myself of that. And, and it's the last bout of vertigo I did have, I've always said I actually cracked a joke to Eric, my husband, halfway through it. Why not? Sure, go ahead. And I had him turn on America's Funniest Home Videos, and I couldn't watch it, that's for sure. But I was listening to the ha ha, the ooh, and it was something uplifting because I was going through it anyway. And I was like, okay, well, I can at least adopt a better attitude, but I can activate my right mind and see what my right mind has to say about this instead of what the ego has to say about it. Because if it's the ego, it's going to be a long, drawn out, and very painful story.
Yes, that's true. Yes. Gary and I always like to joke that, if the reason that we appeared to pass was that we like fell off a cliff or something. That was like we just fell. So you can fall and fall. You can fall to your death. But you can fall laughing.
That's
or
true.
you can just well, here I am. Here I go.
Yeah, why not?
Or you can just go. Or you can just worry about. That experience. I mean, even in that situation, you have a choice. I mean, it's kind of a funny example, but you can though, no matter what you can make everything.
Yes. Yeah.
You really can. We're not trained to do that. We're not brought up to think like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just A Course in Miracles thought system is it's so radical because it's teaching us the complete opposite of what most of us have been taught or brought up to believe. So it's a real shift,
It is.
It does take work, it takes practice.
It does.
But gosh, I mean, I know in my own life it's really, really beneficial, and I can definitely see the results.
Nice.
And one of the results is I'm more peaceful.
Yeah.
Peaceful regardless of circumstances.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think that's the best thing one could have is right, no matter what comes your way. You can train the mind to see it as the same. Yeah. That's not easy at first, but with practice, it all falls under, in other words, it all falls under one category, the dream, period. Exactly. Anything here is part of the dream.
Exactly.
So there's no hierarchy of problems, hierarchy of illusions, the Course says. It's all the same in a dream. Yeah. And so when the mind's trained to think that way, you don't make things bigger or harder than other things. You start to see it as the same, and that's really freeing. And it
can be done. Like it can be done. Absolutely. And just quickly, Eric and I, my husband and I, took a quick vacation this past weekend, and those who took the It's My Time to Heal webinar, that my brother is going through a time, so it's been a bit challenging with him this past year, and that's fine. I love him and I'm there for him, but also my husband's mom has Alzheimer's, and like she keeps escaping from the lodge. And so, and this has been a challenge for both my husband and I over the past year. And when we went on vacation this past weekend, we're like, oh, everything's set up, you know, everyone's good, let's go, let's have a nice vacation. And his mom escaped, and my brother had a moment, and you know, my sisters and my parents had to tend to that. And you know, I just got to the point where, you know, it's just like, sure, why not? You know, the second we leave and we can't do anything, we're you know, I really saw it as a lesson of, Fiona, you're physically not able to do anything here, but you are mentally able to offer some support. And a lot of that support was for Eric. You know, his mom thankfully was okay, but it was mentally very empowering to see it with the right mind, that I had a choice to go, sure, why not? You know, all this stuff's gonna happen, all right, and that's okay. It's an opportunity for us to practice true forgiveness, to calm our minds, and to be a more loving support at the level of the mind, instead of, you know, because we just weren't able to be a physical presence. And that was very liberating, because the ego would definitely have a story like, girl, get on a plane, you got to go fix this. But that wasn't how it was to be, and it definitely all worked out. So yeah.
Another good example of the use of having a choice and using the power of the mind also, when sometimes in certain situations it can feel like helpless, like you're helpless sometimes. You can turn that around too, and just recognize and accept that, well, maybe physically, right, I can't do anything right now that's going to be helpful, but what I can do is I have my mind. I can see this with my right mind, and let whatever happens from that, you know, just trust that if there's anything that I need to do, it will just be a reflection of my choice to forgive, you know, and look at it differently. And that's being very helpful, you know, too. So oftentimes I think we feel like we need to physically do something, and sometimes that's not the answer, or that might not even be what's most helpful. We don't really know, you know. So we kind of pull back, allow ourselves that moment and that space to get in our right minds first before we do anything. Even just get in our right minds, you know, get centered, and then from that place inspiration will flow.
And I love that you've touched on that I can activate my right mind. And one of the women who took my intro to ACIM class recently, she said, because, you know, we have in the course, we're given the affirmation of, I am here only to be truly helpful. I'm here to represent him who sent me. And, you know, it goes on for a few lines, and it's incredible, and I love it. But, you know, she said, but sometimes things happen so quickly, I don't have time to say all of that. I don't have time to activate my right mind with that. And, you know, I remembered Gary sharing in one of his books that, you know, before he leaves, sometimes he's just like, okay, Jay, you and me, Jay isn't Jesus, like you and me, let's go, right? And isn't that quick enough? So, you know, can you speak to how simple it is to activate our right minds for the listeners?
One of the ways that we can set ourselves up to be in our right minds is really doing it at the start of our day. That way we're already turning it over. So that way we're training our minds. So if something does come up, that requires our attention, we've already set our goal at the beginning. You know, and even if you forget in the moment to join with the Holy Spirit, and I understand how that is too. We might not literally have the time to go through a long process, is what I'm saying. But if you start your day by clarifying your goal, what do you want to come of your day? What do you want to feel today? And I mean at the mind level. I want peace above all else, right? I want to experience the joining with others. I want to use everything for the Holy Spirit's purpose. And the ego is like that kind of idea. And when you start your day like that, you're already setting the tone. And you're more likely to follow through on that, even when situations arise. So that way, when the situation comes up, you're not immediately at the effect of the situation. You'll remember you're at cause.
Beautiful.
So that's one way to train the mind, is start at the beginning, the very beginning, you know? And then, but if something happens and you forget, you know, don't beat yourself up. Try to just know you can come back to it as soon as you can. Even after the event happens, just come right back in your mind, and you can still do the work, the mental work.
The holy instant.
The holy instant. You can still do it. So you don't, because the miracle works in all dimensions of time, and there's no, you know, time frame, you know, so you can still come back to it. you know, and even if you forget,
Yeah.
but train the mind to start off your days, you know.
Yeah.
This is what I do every single morning, and it helps so much.
Very
Yeah.
helpful.
Put the Holy Spirit in charge.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
and no, there will be times, actually, there will be times we forget. That happens, you know.
Of course.
And so you know, and if it takes just doing like what Gary was saying, that example in his books when he says, Jay, it's you and me, right? You and me. Even if that just takes a second to just remember,
Totally.
right? Or just say, you can say in your mind briefly, Holy Spirit, you're in charge. I don't know what to do, but I know as I choose you as my teacher, I trust that it will flow, you know? So you can just say that, and that takes a second.
Totally. Yeah.
Just a reset, a quick reset.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because it's every instant, isn't it? And every instant your mind can choose something different. So, you know, when you have that moment and you are triggered, you know, you can train your mind to go, okay, but the next instant, you know, can be something totally different.
Totally
I can choose the Holy Spirit, and, you know, because it's a thought. It's just a thought.
Just a thought.
Just a thought. Yeah.
And you won't suffer as long. So if you feel like you're suffering through something, you tend to suffer less when you just remember the truth, which is that, first of all, this is a dream. We're all connected. All minds are joined. They're one. And as we look at people and think about people, if minds are joined, remember, that's how we're seeing ourselves. So we always want to remember that, you know, the more loving thoughts we have in our minds, and we're seeing people as innocent, right? It's all of it, nothing less than God, whole and perfect. We're telling ourselves that. It comes right back to our own minds.
Yes. And
it feels better to do that than feel like you're a victim or the effect of a situation.
Yeah.
Be at cause. Just remember, I'm at cause.
Yeah.
I can decide how I'm interpreting this and how I'm feeling about this.
Right.
And you retain your power, you know, and
it
just feels better.
It does. It feels very liberating to know that you have a choice between the ego mind and the right mind, and you are the decision maker. And, you know, because as we're taught in the course, right, that the mind is always in service of something, whether it be the ego or spirit. So who are you choosing?
And some people say, well, that's all I have to do. Yeah, that's all you. I mean, really, we're always, in other words, it doesn't have to be more complicated than that. Yeah, the ego is complicated. The truth is simple.
Yeah.
When we push against the reality of what we are and the truth, when we push against that, that is so hard. That's what fatigues us. That's what holding grievances does.
Right.
That's tiring.
Oh,
that's we get exhausting. But what if you're just be love?
Yeah.
That's where you're coming from always. There's no work to just be what you already are.
Right.
But we have guilt in our minds still that we believe that we're, so that's why it seems like this is a process. We have to practice this.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's always, you know, the guilt, like you go about your day, and if you feel those twinges of guilt, however guilt may show up for you, whether it's the anger or whatever it might be, just tend to the guilt. And then proceed, right? And that's just fine. It's a classroom.
It's a classroom, absolutely. And what a blessing it is that we can actually use our lives as a classroom. That's actually a blessing, you know, because we'll just keep feeling caught in a dream until we remember we have a mind, that we don't have to feel like we're stuck, you know, in circumstances.
Yes.
You know, that the power of your mind, I mean, that the power of decision.
Yes.
Huge, you know, and that's what the course is about, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, training the mind.
Training the mind.
Yeah.
You know, and that you are a mind. You're not really a body, although it feels like it. The body is not the reality.
Yes. Yeah. Like at the beginning of Gary's healing meditation, right? You're reminding yourself that the body is a projection of your mind. It's actually outside of you.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Which is, and I do the meditation a lot. And it's always just like, wow, sometimes it's just like, what a reminder. Wish I remembered that a few times throughout my day.
And, you know, remember, if anybody is experiencing physical pain, what could be helpful is, because physical pain that can really make you feel you're really a body, of course, because if you're feeling it viscerally, and I understand that too, that's not always easy to practice, but you can still remember that all pain is mental pain.
Yes.
It looks like and feels like it's physical, but if
Yeah.
it's mental pain, that's better because you can change your mind about it. You don't have to, be at the effect of it. Even if you're still feeling it, you can still work at the mind level, and there's benefits whether you see them or not.
Yes.
You're still healing. You can still heal your mind by
Yeah.
working at that level.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the effect may change. In fact, you may experience those healing results. So
Yeah.
it's always to your benefit.
It is, and it's easy to get up in the conscious mind experience where we wake up, oh, here I am, I'm in my conscious mind, but we forget about the unconscious mind, which is incredibly vast. And so every time we practice true forgiveness, although we may not see the genuine evidence of it, your mind has healed at some level. So you are never wasting a moment when you've chosen true forgiveness.
And this is what we need to trust. Absolutely. We can trust that something is happening.
Right.
Because trust that you're working for your good. The Holy Spirit's working with you for your good.
Yes.
It's not, there's always a healing taking place.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's exciting. Like,
that's
it's
exciting.
Genuinely exciting to go, all right, it's going to happen anyway. Let's heal it.
I'm even feeling goosebumps. See, sometimes when I talk about this, I feel goosebumps, which is, it's just a reinforcing that. Yes, that's right.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Would you be able to share with us, have you ever had an experience that showed you, wow, my mind is so powerful? Whether it's a manifestation or a memory or just something that just showed you my mind is so powerful?
Yeah, I mean, I know I've had many moments. Let me think of something because I've had many moments of me sitting back and I had to actually stop myself and go, wow, this stuff really works. Like our minds are so, and one of the things that just came to me was the more and more, I just want to put this in context for a minute.
For sure.
The more and more that we practice forgiveness, the kind that undoes the ego, right?
Yes.
That when you identify the cause, that the cause of your upset is never anything outside of you, right? And you're taking responsibility for how you see people in the world. Right. So the more you do that, the more this unconscious guilt is being healed in the mind so that you suffer less. Okay. Now, this can manifest in the world as things that used to upset you don't upset you anymore. Things that used to hurt you don't, even physically, you might not feel body pain. Yeah. So this is where I'm going to give you an example. Okay. Now, I'm practicing forgiveness for 15 years now. Wow. And consistently for 15 years, every day. So a couple months ago, I was walking down our driveway and I completely I fell flat on my face. I tripped and I fell flat on my face where it was I pounded the ground so hard. Yeah. My immediate reaction hurt. I got up, there was nothing. There was no, like in normal circumstance, it was such a hard fall. I would have something. I would even have like a bruise or I don't know, a scrape or even feel like ow, or even say ow. Yeah. It's like something, it was just so bizarre. It's like nothing happened. I just got up and it was such a hard fall. Like I'm saying, that wasn't just a little, I tripped. I fell flat on my face. Wow. And I got up and I was like, it was like nothing happened. I just, it didn't hurt. I didn't feel any pain. Yeah. I didn't have a scrape. It's like I just got up and walked away like, oh, okay, brush myself up. Yeah. Okay. And I was like, I actually stopped and I said, what just happened? Yeah. I should have felt pain. I should have felt something. Yes. And it was almost like nothing. And so this is an example of when there's less guilt in the mind, you also don't feel like you need to punish yourself. Right. Right. And I fell, but I didn't, it was nothing. Right. It's like anything else that I didn't feel. And this happened a couple of times. And I thought, that's when I thought to myself, your question was, did you ever have a moment where you felt the power of the mind? That's when I felt the power of the mind. Isn't that? I was like, wow, this stuff. I said, because there have been many times where I felt just like that. Most of the time I was like, there was some reaction from me. There wasn't even a reaction. I kind of laughed. I even laughed. Funny. Yeah. I remember to laugh and it was like, I don't know. And I thought, that's the power of the mind. I love it. Yeah. Love it. So the more you practice forgiveness, this is the kind of benefits you can receive. Things that would normally hurt you. Yes. You'd react to, they don't. And that's just one form of that. It could take another form. Yeah, absolutely. Somebody you come in contact with, usually just really annoys you,
Yes.
and you're always disturbed by their behavior.
Yeah.
Then they come in one day and they're doing the same behavior and you're just not reacting. That's also the power of the mind.
It's like it's nothing. It's just no longer
Nothing.
a blip on your radar.
No longer it doesn't have a hold over you. It doesn't have, you're not reacting.
Yes.
That's the power of what can happen when you're really seeing things with your right mind. Over time. It's a process.
Yeah.
And you're free. You're like, oh my gosh. I still feel good. I still feel peaceful. You can still care and have compassion, of course, for people. It's just that you're doing it from a place of peace now. You don't have to be bothered by it.
Yeah. It's empowering for everyone, right? When you feel strong in God and using your right mind, you see that for other people and you begin to see the strength in them and go, you know what? They're good. Of course, have compassion if there's any way I can support them, totally. But you feel like, no, it's their path and they've got it. And the best I can do is just mentally see the best in them and just be open if there's any action I need to take, just be open to that and let the Holy Spirit guide, but it is incredible because it releases you from that, others are suffering and I'm suffering and we're all just suffering and woe is us and, the whole victim thing. And it is a classroom and it's helpful to feel that way yourself, that I'm in a classroom and also see that for others. It's definitely more liberating for everyone.
Definitely more liberating.
Yeah.
And let's remember, if other people, if they're not behaving in ways we like, or they're not expressing love, they're calling for love.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we can see that's having compassion.
Yeah.
See people and ourselves in it when we're crying out for love.
Yeah.
Just think, well, this is just a call for love. If someone's calling for love, it doesn't mean we should be angry at them. Right? It's kind of, it makes sense. It makes more sense that, it's insane to react with anger. Really, we are in a moment of insanity when we react to others calling out for love with anger. That's insane.
Totally. Yeah.
We're making it anger, right? And we're making it all real again. Yeah. And and so what we want to do is, anytime, it doesn't matter how vicious an attack may be, and this is what's hard, can be hard to see. Yeah. But like I would hear, and I often use this example of if somebody goes out and shoots 20 people, they're calling out for love.
Big time.
Yes, it's a horrible thing at this level. Yeah, it doesn't mean we don't react as far as, you do what you do in that moment to take care of yourself, but you still see that person as calling out for love. Absolutely. That's having compassion for self and others. Yeah. And part of having a forgiving attitude. That's what it means to have a forgiving attitude. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And they will learn when they're not feeling that guilt so heavy, right? When the guilt's relieved, even just for a little bit, they can start to relax and be like, oh, something needs to heal here or change. And those people also are on their path, just like we're on our path. Everybody's on their path of learning and growth. Yeah. And when we see that, it makes everything easier. It really everything becomes an expression of love, and of compassion. And we don't judge other people, and that's a whole lot of love. It's a whole lot of love, and it benefits the whole mind, because we're all joined. Exactly. Yeah. At the level of the unconscious mind, our minds know that we are just one mind having this experience. So, just being super careful of what we're feeding into the mind, because it's going in there at the unconscious level. And and it can sneak its way up to the conscious level and boom. Yeah. Boom, literally. Literal boom. Yeah, totally. Sometimes. Yeah. Just to, we've been chatting for about an hour, which is amazing. So I just wanted to wrap up. Do you have any, other than beginning your day with the Holy Spirit, and just with your experience with anxiety, do you have any tips for having a healthy mind or overcoming an anxious moment that you can share? Let's go over just briefly. Number one is always how you start your day. Like I start my day, by always clarifying my goal and turning it over to the Holy Spirit. Yeah. And then my thing, especially this year, but really I'm stepping up my game as well in all this, is being vigilant only for God. Nice. Yeah. Vigilant only for God. Yes. Yes. Which means yes, I'm being vigilant for seeing
Yeah.
everyone and everything throughout my day, the best to my ability,
Yeah.
as again, seeing them as always as whole and innocent.
Yeah.
But it also means being vigilant against the ego. So we want to watch,
Yeah.
be on alert. And this is what I do. Part of my practice is I pay attention to when my peace is disturbed, and you can catch yourself. So part of the practice is really catching yourself when you're not at peace. So that way you can remember your mind and you can change your mind about it.
Beautiful.
So we want to be, you can be vigilant only for God, which means you're seeing everyone with spiritual sight as they really are, but yet notice those times, practice training the mind to notice when you're upset.
Beautiful.
Remembering you're never upset for the reason you think. And this has been part of my everyday practice.
Nice.
You know, so, but we have to just catch it when we're in that mode, so we can, peace will return sooner when we catch it. Yeah. And then you can practice, do a forgiveness process if that's the case, if you need to.
Beautiful. Yeah, because it won't snowball, right? Because, you know, as Eckhart Tolle teaches us, right? The mind has incredible power, and it can just go ahead like a raging river. So catching yourself before it gets to that point. And that's particularly helpful for those who are overcoming anxiety. Like you're aware that you're experiencing that condition at that time. So, you know, today I can train my mind and, you know, be more vigilant to catch it.
Yes,
and
just
then,
to catch it.
Yeah.
You can start doing sooner. You can start doing the work, which will bring peace sooner as well.
And it is a process, right? Right-mindedness is a habit. So to be patient with yourself, but the more you practice it, the quicker you'll get there. And I always say, let yourself be surprised. You never know if like in a month or, you know, who knows? It's up to the Holy Spirit, not me, but you never know how much quicker you can feel peace more consistently.
That's right. And it's okay to let yourself make mistakes. It's okay.
Totally. How do we learn?
No, the whole point is not to make ourselves feel guilty.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and just let the mistakes come if they come, and then know you can always have another chance.
Beautiful. Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Cindy. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I can't believe an hour. It's almost an hour and 7 minutes has just breezed by.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. No, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone for listening. And we truly hope that this was helpful for you. And if you have any questions or comments or anything you'd like to share, I would love to hear them. So thank you so much. And thank you again, Cindy.
Thanks, Fiona.
Thank you.